So if you're keeping up with notes, this would be number 6 that we're doing. Okay, again, I'm just kind of putting this out here just for myself, but just basically, as long as we got it to number 6, we're good. Okay, so the biggest thing you've got to do, and I think the front side on this one, they're all pretty much in y equals mx plus b form. We'll do one on the back where it's not, just so we get a little bit of practice of it. But you've got to rewrite it in y equals mx plus b form. And again, after you do that, you start by plotting the b, the y-intercept, and then you use the slope to get to your next point to get what you need there. Now, for this one, we're kind of backing up a little bit because the graphs we were doing before, a lot of the graphs that we were doing when we were doing this before, we were doing like the inequality graphs. We were doing the open circle and one going this way, or the solid circle and going, something like that. This one is more, we're graphing lines, so we've got it on the coordinate plane. So for this one, it's going to come up, we're going to have basically some type of line on this one because it's linear. And then we're either going to use a dashed or a solid line, and that's going to be based on if it's y greater than or less than, it's dashed. If it's greater than equal to, less than equal to, then it's going to be solid. Okay, and we're going to do that part of it first, and then we'll show you the last part here at the end. That this last part gets kind of easy for this one. So, all right, so in number 1, just to make sure we got here, our b value would be 4, and the m is our slope. It's -3. But again, if they give you something that's a whole number, you have to make it a fraction to graph it. So you got to put it over 1. Okay, so we're going to begin at +4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll put you right there. And the slope is -3 over 1. So from this point, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3 over 1. Okay, we've got the bar underneath it. So when we graph this one, it's going to be solid. Okay, and probably the old way that we were doing these way back when, and this is where I kind of like to do stuff because I like to make stuff easy as I can for y'all. The old way was that you would pick a point, like at 0, 0, you'd plug it back in up here, and you'd plug it back into the equality and see if it made it true. So if you took the point 0, 0 and plugged it in, and it made this inequality true, you would shade in this side. If it was false, then you would shade in this side. But here's something that's even easier on this one. And if they didn't tell you this way back when, they should have. They probably had a reason, but we're just making sure everybody knows how to do this one. If it's greater or greater than equal to, which is what this one is, you take your pen, you put it anywhere on the line, and you go up, which means everything on this side of the line is what we're going to shade. So you don't have to worry about plugging any points and working anything out. It's just if it's greater, you shade up. If it's less than, you shade down. And that's it. That's all you got to do. If you're doing this on Math Excel, to do the shading on Math Excel, again, that line would go down this way. There's a paint bucket that looks something like this. It's like a paint can that's kind of tipped over and the paint's coming out of it. Basically, after you draw your line, you just go back and click on this, and then you just drop that paint bucket in here, and it will shade this whole side in for you. All right. So number 2, b value is -5. So we're going to begin at -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be right there. Okay. Our slope in this case is already a fraction. It's 3/5. So from this point, we're going to go up 3 and over 5 to the right. So up 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Bars underneath it, so it's a solid line. It's less than. So again, anywhere on the line doesn't matter. You're going to shade down, which means everything is going to shade down from the side. All right, so far so good? All right, number 3. Same kind of thing with number 3 again. B value is -5. So that one we're going to start down here at -5. All right, your slope, and then sometimes that's where people go, well, there's not a number there. Okay, so there's not a number there, but again, technically that would be a -1 for the slope. Again, it's got to be a fraction. Anytime it's not a fraction, just put it over 1. So this means we're going to go down 1 and then over to the right 1. Okay, this time it's just greater than. So when we graph this one, it's going to be a dashed line. All right, it's y greater. So in that case, again, anywhere on the line doesn't matter. Just start somewhere. If it's greater, we're going up. So that means everything has got to be graphed up on this side of the line. All right, number 4, trick question. And if anybody's working ahead, don't do number 6 yet because we're actually going to change number 6 so we can graph this one here in just a minute. So number 4, trick question. Because there's only one letter, because we don't have the x and the y. The x and the y mean if you got both of those, that means it's going to be tilted some way. If there's only one letter, it's only going one direction. So it's either going to be vertical or it's going to be horizontal. We just got to figure out which one it's going to be. All right, and then if you may or may not remember this one from way back when, I'm not going to tell you how I did this one wrong, but it's y, basically it's y -4. So on the y-axis, go to -4 and put a point right there. Okay, so we're either going this way or we're going this way. And again, you can only touch the y-axis at -4. If you go this way, you're hitting every point on the y-axis. So that means this one's going to have to go side to side. Okay. Again, y greater, so we're going up. So that's everything up here. Okay, so one more, we'll do number 5. Again, we're going to change number 6 to make it be a better question than what's there. All right, so with number 5, the b value is -5. Again, they seem to keep using that number every time. A lot of those at -5. Slope is 2. But again, it's got to be a fraction, so we're going to put it over 1. So to move to the next point, we're going up 2 and over 1. All right, doesn't have the bar underneath it, so it's a dashed line. It's y greater, so that is everything up here. Okay, so change number 6. I'll just show you one here a little different as we're going through these. Let's change that one to 5x minus 3y. Less than -15. So all the other ones we have on these, they were already in y equals mx plus b form. I want to give you one that's not in y equals mx plus b form and just show you how we're going to work that one out. Okay, so number 6, this is one we'd have to kind of go through the whole thing because it is not in y equals mx plus b form. So we've got to rewrite it in y equals mx plus b form. Which means we've got to get the y by itself, which means whatever the x is, we've got to add it or subtract it away. In this case, it's positive, so we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. So getting rid of the 5x on the left side, moving it to the right side, we'll get -3y less than -5x minus 15. All right, get the y by itself. We're going to divide everything by -3. All right, and here's what you want to kind of see when you do this one. If you divide by a negative, it changes this one from a negative to a positive y. It's negative 5 over negative 3. That changes that to a positive. That's a negative over negative. That changes that to a positive. So basically, if you divide by a negative, it changes all these signs. It's also going to change that sign. So it was less than, so now you're going to change it to a greater than. So if basically on that last step, if you get here, if you divide by this number with y and it's negative, you've got to flip your sign from being less than to greater than, or greater than less than, whatever the case may be. Okay, and then from there we can do everything else we need to do. So the b value is this time positive 5. And then your slope is 5 over 3. Okay, so we're going to start at positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be here. Okay, now the problem we get though is if we go up 5 over 3, we're somewhere up here and we're off the chart, right? So if we can't graph that point, and the math Excel will be the same way. They'll only give you so big of a box to do that one. If you go off the graph on this one, what are we going to have to do then to get back to another point? Change it to, yeah, so basically just kind of make everything backwards, right? So instead of going up 5 and right 3, you're going to do everything backwards. You're going to go down 5 and then left 3. So instead of going up, we're going to go down. Instead of going right, we're going to go left. So we're going to go down 5 and then back 1, 2, 3. And that way, if we were to connect that way, this point that we had up here, if we could have plotted it, then we could see then it would connect to this point that would be there. So, if you could kind of graph it, do that, kind of go up 5 over 3 and get a point here. But again, if you do it backwards, if you go down 5 and then back 3 to the left, that'll line these two things up so it's all kind of together there. All right, we flipped it so it was greater. So that means we're going to shade up from that graph, so it's going to be everything over here.